About 10,000 years before the events of the films, spacefaring species begin to unlock the secrets to hyperspace travel, which opens up the galaxy for exploration. The Old Republic is founded. Force-sensitive beings from multiple planets are now able to gather to form the Jedi Order and dedicate their lives to the preservation of peace and justice and the light side of the Force. One of the first planets to come into their possession is Ilum, which becomes a sacred site to the Jedi Order and a major source of kyber crystals for use in construction of their lightsabers. But a group of Jedi fall to the dark side and split from the Order, sparking the 100-Year Darkness. Out of that conflict, the Sith Order is born. A Sith temple is erected on Malachor, and at its heart is a super weapon powered by a massive kyber crystal. The Jedi attack the temple, and in the Great Scourge of Malachor, the super weapon is fired, petrifying all participants in the battle. Another splinter group of the Jedi, known as the Ordu Espectu, begins to seek out eternal life. The Jedi oppose their quest, and the Ordu sends their fortress to an unknown location where it's lost. Over the next 4,000 years, the Sith Order continues to grow into a major power in the galaxy, and they construct a shrine on Coruscant. Another 1,000 years later, the Great Temple of Massassi is built by one of the slave races of the Sith. The Battle of Takodana is fought between the Jedi and the Sith some 1,000 years before the events of the films. Coincidentally, Maz Kanata, the being that would one day inhabit a castle there, is born around the same time. The last major conflict between the Jedi and the Sith happens about this time as well. The Sith are defeated and driven off Coruscant. The Jedi Order constructs their own temple on top of the ruined Sith shrine to counteract the darkness left by their enemies. Darth Bane establishes the Rule of Two, severely limiting the number of the Sith Order so they may grow more powerful in secret. The Old Republic comes to an end, and the Galactic Republic is established in its place. Simultaneously, the Jedi encounter the Mandalorians, which starts a series of conflicts known as the Mandalorian-Jedi War. New Mandalorian technology is created in response to the powers of the Jedi Order. Despite their differences, a Mandalorian named Tar Vizsla is allowed to become a Jedi, and he creates the Darksaber. After his death, Clan Vizsla liberates the weapon from the Jedi Temple. The last battle between the Jedi and the Mandalorians ends in Jedi victory and leaves Mandalore a scorched and lifeless desert. This all sounds like the year 1000 BBY was incredibly eventful, but keep in mind, all these events happened around that time, we just don't know exactly when. About 500 years later, the Citadel is constructed to imprison rogue Jedi, preventing any future uprisings like the 100-Year Darkness or the Ordu Espectu. However, the Galactic Republic largely knows nothing but peace for the first 1,000 years after its creation. During that time, the Sith Order continues to remain hidden thanks to the Rule of Two. Darth Sidious and his apprentice Darth Maul are the latest Sith in Darth Bane's lineage, and they work to manufacture a galactic conflict that will throw the Republic into chaos. Maul is taken to Malachor to witness the history of the Sith, and he is instilled with an intense hatred and need for revenge against the Jedi. A Jedi Master named Sifo Dyas has a vision of the upcoming war. He warns his peers in the Jedi Order, but he is accused of warmongering and removed from the Jedi Council. He takes matters into his own hands by commissioning the Kaminoans to create a clone army for the Republic, which catches the attention of Sidious. Meanwhile, the Jedi Master Yoda follows the call of the Force to a war-torn planet called Vagadar. There, he learns to control a new aspect of the Force known as Stone Power, and he brings peace to the inhabitants. Darth Maul grows impatient of his master's plans and seeks to test his power against a Padawan of the Jedi Order, apprentice versus apprentice. Darth Sidious begins the first phase of his master plan by engineering a blockade of his home planet Naboo, where he publicly serves as Senator Sheev Palpatine. Jedi Master Qui-Gon Jinn and his Padawan Obi-Wan Kenobi are part of the Republic's initial efforts to end the dispute. They rescue Queen Padme Amidala and fall back to Coruscant, but not before they discover a boy named Anakin Skywalker who is immensely powerful in the Force. The Republic's inability to solve the problem shows the overall ineffectiveness of the Senate and allows Palpatine to not only vote the Supreme Chancellor Valorum out of office, but also take the position for himself. Padme, Anakin, Qui-Gon, and Obi-Wan return to Naboo to forcibly remove the blockade. They face Darth Maul and Qui-Gon is killed. Obi-Wan cuts Maul in half, which should have killed him, but we'll come back to that. Anakin is admitted to the Jedi Order as the Padawan of Obi-Wan Kenobi, and peace is restored to Naboo. Despite the loss of Maul, Palpatine's goal in the blockade has been achieved. Wasting little time, the new Supreme Chancellor takes on a new Sith apprentice in the former Jedi Master Count Dooku. They have Sifo Dyas killed, and they take control of the clone army. Anakin Skywalker proves to be a very strong student in the Force. Palpatine makes plans to replace Dooku with Anakin when the time is right, but starts planting seeds of doubt in the boy's mind regarding the Jedi. 10 years after the blockade of Naboo, Dooku successfully leads a number of systems in seceding from the Republic, starting the conflict that was foreseen by Sifo Dyas. Although fearful of attack, the Senate is hesitant to create an army. Dooku orders the assassination of Padme Amidala, who becomes a senator after her term as queen. The assassination fails, and Anakin is tasked with her protection, and the two fall in love. Meanwhile, Obi-Wan investigates the would-be assassins and discovers the clone army on Kamino. Fearing they have no other choice, the Senate grants Chancellor Palpatine emergency powers, gives the Jedi Order command of the clones, and the Clone Wars begin. Anakin secretly marries Padme, rises to the rank of Jedi Knight, and takes on a Padawan named Ahsoka Tano. The Republic discovers plans to a new superweapon in the hands of their enemies. Palpatine manipulates a small group of scientists and engineers into creating the weapon for themselves, but the super laser proves to be a challenging breakthrough. Dooku takes an apprentice of his own, a Night Sister named Asajj Ventress. Sidious grows wary of Ventress's strength and demands that she be killed as a test of Dooku's loyalty. She escapes the attempt on her life and becomes a bounty hunter. Anakin grows very close with his Padawan, but they both see the less noble side of the Jedi when Ahsoka is wrongly accused of murder and kicked out of the Order. Anakin clears her name and she is invited back, but feeling betrayed by those she respected, she decides to leave. Anakin's trust in the Jedi Order is weakened further. Darth Maul, having miraculously survived his injuries at the Battle of Naboo, takes control of the planet Mandalore and leadership of the Mandalorian Death Watch. He gains enough power that his former master sees him as a rival and puts an end to his crusade by chasing him throughout the galaxy, destroying most of his forces and killing his mother, the Night Sister Mother Talzin. Maul takes the few fighters he has left back to Mandalore. There he is met in combat by a joint force of Mandalorians and clones led by Ahsoka. He is defeated and goes into hiding. The Jedi gravely decide that the fastest way to end the Clone Wars would be the assassination of Count Dooku. Quinlan Vos is given the job and he teams up with Asajj Ventress. The two fall in love on the failed mission, but Quinlan goes over to the dark side under the teachings of Dooku. He is redeemed when Asajj gives her life to save his. A young Padawan named Caleb Dume begins training under the Jedi Master Depa Billaba after they thwart a terrorist attack on the Jedi Temple together. In the midst of a battle, a clone murders one of his Jedi generals. An investigation reveals the presence of an inhibitor chip placed in the minds of all clone soldiers. War comes to Coruscant for the first time in 1,000 years. Anakin confronts and kills Count Dooku, again leaving Sidious without an apprentice. Padme becomes pregnant with Anakin's child, and he begins to have visions of her death. Desperate to save her, he seeks advice from Palpatine, who not only reveals that he is a Sith Lord, but that he has the power to save Padme. Anakin joins Sidious and takes up the name Darth Vader for a chance to save his wife. He betrays the Jedi Order and leads an attack on the Jedi Temple. Simultaneously, Palpatine issues a command to all clones that trigger their chips to kill the Jedi. Within moments, most of the Jedi Order is destroyed. Anakin is then sent to the volcanic planet Mustafar to assassinate the remaining leaders of the Confederacy of Independent Systems. With their deaths, the Clone Wars come to an end. Having no one left to oppose him, Palpatine transitions the Republic into the First Galactic Empire and proclaims himself Emperor of the Galaxy. Caleb Dume, Obi-Wan, and Yoda survive the initial attack on the Jedi. Yoda confronts Sidious while Obi-Wan confronts Anakin. Yoda is defeated and goes into exile on the planet Dagobah. Anakin is dismembered and badly burned but left alive by Obi-Wan. Padme dies giving birth to twins named Luke and Leia. Leia is hidden with Senator Bail Organa of the planet Alderaan, and Obi-Wan takes Luke to his aunt and uncle on the remote desert planet Tatooine. Darth Sidious informs Darth Vader that his wife and child are dead. Vader is forced to wear a biomechanical suit in order to survive, and he takes up his position as apprentice to Darth Sidious. The superweapon known as the Death Star continues construction, and the brilliant scientist Galen Erso is manipulated into designing the super laser. Caleb Dume is forced to abandon the ways of the Jedi in order to remain hidden. He changes his name to Kanan Jarrus. Ahsoka hides in the Outer Rim for a year until she meets Bail Organa. They join forces to help systems that have fallen under the oppression of the Empire, and she takes up the codename Fulcrum. Galen Erso discovers that he's constructing a weapon of terrible power for the Empire and escapes to the Outer Rim with the help of Rebel and Clone Wars veteran Saw Gerrera. Darth Vader and the new Imperial Inquisitors continue their hunt for surviving Jedi for the next 5 years. Sidious has doubts regarding Vader's loyalties and engineers a test for their survival at the rebellious planet Ryloth. Their ship is shot down, and Vader is forced to more fully embrace the dark side to keep them alive. Moff Tarkin, a merciless Imperial leader, is tasked with the protection of the Death Star after Galen's escape. Rebels come close to discovering the secret construction, but with the help of Darth Vader, Tarkin not only destroys them, but reveals an Imperial traitor. His success prompts his promotion to Grand Moff, the first of the Empire. Galen Erso remains hidden for 4 years, but is tracked down by his former colleague Orson Krennic. Galen's wife is killed, he's taken into Imperial custody, and is forced to continue working on the Death Star, leaving his daughter Jyn in the care of Saw Gerrera. An alien and tactical genius named Thrawn is discovered on the edges of the unknown regions. He's taken before the Emperor himself, who is so impressed with the man that he's admitted to the Imperial Navy. After 8 years in hiding, Kanan has become a drunk freighter pilot. He meets a rebel named Hera with whom he becomes infatuated. He sobers up and fights to protect a small planet in the Outer Rim, which requires him to reveal himself as a Force user. He joins Hera on her ship, the Ghost. Obi-Wan continues to watch over Luke, who also shows evidence of his own potential strength in the Force. On the Outer Rim planet of Lothal, a boy named Zer Leonis looks forward to joining his sister in the Imperial Academy until she goes missing. Believing the Empire is behind her disappearance, he makes plans to infiltrate the Academy to find her. On the same planet, another boy, an orphan named Ezra Bridger, inadvertently assists some rebels in stealing supplies from the Empire. Those rebels turn out to be Kanan and Hera. Ezra learns that he has abilities in the Force, and Kanan decides to train him. Ezra also infiltrates the Imperial Academy and meets Zer. The two young spies help each other in their respective missions. Zer is eventually transferred to a more elite academy on Arcanus. There he meets Commandant Brindle Hux, who believes the future of the Empire requires a marriage of Imperial and Republic army doctrines. Zer, with the help of Ezra, is able to find and rescue his sister, who was imprisoned after the Empire discovered her Force sensitivity. Kanan, Ezra, and the rest of the crew cause enough problems for the Empire that Darth Vader himself is sent to hunt them down. Ahsoka also joins their crew when their small cell joins the larger growing rebellion. The 3 Force users travel to Malachor hoping to find a way to defeat the Sith. There they find Maul, who had returned to the planet. He attempts to pull Ezra to the dark side and blinds Kanan before retreating. Darth Vader finds them at the Sith Temple and confronts Ahsoka. She fights him long enough to allow Kanan and Ezra to escape with a Sith holocron. Senator Mon Mothma publicly denounces Emperor Palpatine and rallies the various rebel cells into a unified movement. As their organization continues to grow, Thrawn, who has risen to the rank of Grand Admiral, is tasked with the destruction of Kanan and Hera's specific cell. Maul reappears and uses Ezra and the Sith holocron to determine that Obi-Wan survived the Clone Wars. He hunts down the old Jedi Master and is finally killed for good. Thrawn finds the location of the Rebel base and forces them to retreat to Yavin 4. As the Death Star nears completion, Galen Erso gets a message out to Saw Gerrera and Jyn. He claims to have left a flaw in the superweapon's design. Jyn leads a group of rebels in an attack on the Imperial planet Scarif, where the Death Star plans are held. The Battle of Scarif is the first large-scale act of open war against the Empire as a truly unified rebel alliance. Despite heavy losses, the plans are successfully stolen and passed on to Princess Leia of Alderaan. Her ship is captured by Darth Vader above Tatooine, and she sends the plans in an escape pod to the planet below with 2 droids in hopes that they can find Obi-Wan for safe delivery to Alderaan. As the Empire searches for the droids, they murder Luke's aunt and uncle. Luke and the droids make their way to Obi-Wan, who begins training Luke as a Jedi as they travel to Alderaan with the help of smugglers Han Solo and Chewbacca. But the Death Star is completed, and Grand Moff Tarkin orders the destruction of Alderaan as an example of its power. When Luke and the others arrive, they are captured by the Death Star. Luke, Han, and Chewbacca rescue Leia and escape, but Obi-Wan confronts his old apprentice Darth Vader and is struck down. Leia delivers the plans to Yavin 4, and Luke joins the counterattack against the Death Star. The rebels are able to exploit the weakness placed by Galen Erso, and the station is destroyed, but Darth Vader survives. Luke, Han, and Chewbacca are given medals for their part in the Battle of Yavin. After the discovery of the base on Yavin 4, the Rebellion is forced to become mobile. Leia races across the galaxy to gather surviving Alderaanians and bring them to safety. On top of receiving a medal, Han is given a large sum of money so that he can pay off his debts to a gangster named Jabba the Hutt. Instead of taking care of that issue right away, he continues to help the Alliance. He and Chewbacca assist in rescuing multiple rebel spies whose cover was compromised in the wake of the Death Star's destruction. Chewbacca helps free a number of slaves on the planet Andelm 4. Luke continues his Jedi training as best he can. During his own mission to rescue a rebel operative, he gains some minor control over telepathy and some understanding of the inner workings of a lightsaber. On another mission, he travels to a ruined Jedi temple on Onderon, where he's able to train against remotes and greatly improve his mastery over the weapon. In response to the loss of the Death Star, the Empire hits the rebels hard, forcing them to retreat across the galaxy, taking heavy losses and struggling to remain hidden. But the Rebellion in turn hits a major weapons factory on Cymoon 1. There, Luke is met by Darth Vader, who recognizes the lightsaber wielded by the young man as his own. Vader begins an investigation with the help of bounty hunter Boba Fett, who learns that Luke's last name is Skywalker. Vader realizes the Emperor has been deceiving him for nearly 2 decades and enlists the help of an archaeologist named Dr. Aphra to create a personal army that he can use to overthrow the Emperor. Aphra betrays him to the Emperor, who sees Vader's actions as assurance that he has devoted himself to the dark side and gives him command of Imperial forces. Luke begins reading the journals of Obi-Wan to learn more about the Jedi Order. A woman named Sana tracks down Han, claiming to be his wife, but their marriage was part of a scam that he cheated her on, and she simply wants her share. She enters the service of the Rebellion as a mercenary. A rebel agent on Coruscant is presented with a chance to assassinate Palpatine. His attempt fails, and he is left horribly scarred. Learning the truth that the Emperor is a Sith Lord, he begins a crusade to murder Imperials being held in a secret rebel prison until he's stopped by Leia. Luke, Leia, Han, and the others steal a Star Destroyer so they can deliver supplies to a starving planet under Imperial blockade. They're barely successful after coming into contact with an elite stormtrooper unit called Scar Squad. Dr. Aphra returns to archaeology and discovers the location of the ancient fortress of the Ordu Espectu. She steals some souvenirs, hoping to sell them on the black market. Lando Calrissian, a longtime friend of Han Solo's, is yet another scoundrel steeped in debt. He's hired to steal a ship full of priceless art. The ship belongs to Palpatine, and the art is of Sith origin. When the Sith relics begin corrupting members of his team, Lando destroys the ship and escapes with his friend Lobot. Han is hired to participate in a famous race as a cover to pick up and rescue more rebel spies. He still hasn't paid off his debts to Jabba. After 3 years of running, the rebel fleet establishes a new base on the remote ice world of Hoth. They are there for less than a month before they're discovered by the Empire and forced to retreat. Luke is visited by the spirit of Obi-Wan, who tells him where to find Yoda. Luke travels to Dagobah and trains under the Jedi Master. Han and Leia fall in love and seek refuge with Lando, who's now in control of a mining colony called Cloud City. Lando betrays them to the Empire to keep his people safe, and Darth Vader uses them in a trap set for Luke. Despite Yoda's warnings, he travels to face Darth Vader and save his friends. Han is frozen in carbonite and given to Boba Fett for delivery to Jabba the Hutt. Lando has a change of heart and tries to rescue his friend, but fails. Luke is badly beaten by Vader, who tells him that he is his father. Distraught, Luke escapes with Leia. Twilight Company participates in the Battle of Inyusu Tor, which is by no means a major victory, but does bring the Solistan people into the rebellion. Forced again into a mobile fleet, the Rebel Alliance finds evidence that the Empire is building a second Death Star. They plan to gather a massive fleet at Solis to attack the superweapon before it can be completed. Leia volunteers to provide herself as a distraction by conspicuously traveling through the galaxy to keep Imperial eyes on her. By the time she returns, Luke has formed a plan to save Han. Luke completes construction of a new lightsaber, and they rescue their friend from Jabba the Hutt with the help of Lando. Luke learns Leia is his sister, and he tells her the truth about their father. The Rebel Alliance learns that the Emperor himself is present aboard the second Death Star and that its destruction will be a heavy blow to the Empire. However, Palpatine's presence was a trap meant to lure what was left of the rebellion into battle where they could be beaten once and for all. During the Battle of Endor, Luke boards the Death Star to face Vader and Sidious, hoping to redeem his father. He is successful, and Vader kills his master, becoming Anakin Skywalker again in his final moments of life. Luke escapes, the second Death Star is destroyed, and the Empire is shattered. Han and Leia are married and become pregnant soon after. For a year, the Imperial Remnant carries out Operation Cinder, the contingency plan Palpatine set in place in the event of his death. Luke rescues the last living pieces of a tree that once grew within the Jedi Temple from the Empire. The Rebel Alliance transitions into the New Republic and begins hunting down high-ranking Imperials. Han and Chewbacca lead the fight for the liberation of Chewie's enslaved home planet, Kashyyyk. Operation Cinder culminates in the Battle of Jakku, which sees the purposeful destruction of most of the Empire. The survivors that were considered worthy were transmitted coordinates to the unknown regions to which they escape. The Galactic Civil War comes to an end. The New Republic becomes the major power in the galaxy, and they rebuild for 24 years. Mon Mothma grows ill and steps down as leader of the New Republic. Without a strong figurehead, the Senate quickly devolves into fighting and corruption. Leia becomes a favorite to lead the Senate, a job she is hesitant to take. She wishes to spend more time with Han, whose life often takes him traveling, and her now-grown son Ben, who left to train as a Jedi with Luke. A rival senator learns she is the daughter of Darth Vader, and her political career is destroyed. But she learns of a growing threat to the New Republic, and she creates the Resistance to better protect them. Ben Solo falls to the dark side under the manipulation of a being known as Snoke. He kills the other students under Luke's tutelage. Devastated, Luke goes into hiding, and Han and Leia end their relationship. Bazine Natal is hired to retrieve a mysterious package from a veteran of the Battle of Endor. Sidon Ithano, the pirate also known as the Crimson Corsair, follows a beacon to a rumored secret treasure of Count Dooku. Instead of riches, he finds a live clone trooper named Kix that had been frozen in stasis for nearly 50 years. Poe Dameron, the son of two veterans of the Galactic Civil War, becomes aware of the new faction threatening the galaxy known as the First Order. He is invited by General Leia Organa to join the Resistance. He leads Black Squadron in covert missions against the First Order as they attempt to gain more influence within the Senate. But their main priority is to find Luke Skywalker. The search leads Poe to Jakku, where he finds the final missing piece of the map to Luke. The First Order, led by Snoke, is also intent on finding and killing him. They attack and capture Poe, but not before he hides the map within his droid, who escapes. Poe himself escapes the First Order thanks to a defecting stormtrooper who comes to be known as Finn. They make their way back to Jakku, but are separated. Poe's droid BB-8 enlists the help of a scavenger named Rey. They meet up with Finn and leave the planet in the former ship of Han Solo. Han and Chewie pick them up after seeing their ship's transponder and take them to Takodana to get help from Maz Kanata. Maz informs Rey that she has powers in the Force and offers her the lightsaber that once belonged to Anakin and Luke Skywalker. Fearing the map to Skywalker is lost, The First Order activates the superweapon they spent the last 3 decades constructing, Starkiller Base. They destroy the New Republic Senate and its fleet. They then attack Takodana and capture Rey. Han, Chewie, and Finn travel to Starkiller Base to rescue her while the Resistance attacks the weapon itself. Rey begins gaining control over her abilities in the Force miraculously fast. Han finds his son, who now goes by the name Kylo Ren, and tries to bring him home. Kylo kills his father and then faces Rey. She defeats him but leaves him alive. Rey, Finn, and Chewie escape Starkiller Base as it explodes. With the map to Luke Skywalker complete, Rey sets out to find him on Ahch-To, the site of the first Jedi Temple. Once found, she offers him the lightsaber he wielded over 30 years ago. As of right now, about halfway through the year 2017, that's everything we know about the canon Star Wars timeline. My plan is to do this style of video every year from now on, every May 4th. I did my best to include pieces from every film, television show, book, and comic, or at least the pieces that are related to each other. But I obviously couldn't include everything. My hope is that you now have a basic understanding of where all those major pieces fit into the canon, but if I omitted something that you think is important to note, please feel free to put it in the comments below. If you want to take a deeper dive into any of these topics, check out the playlist I have linked here, or look through the description of this video. If you haven't already, please like this video, subscribe to the channel to keep up with Star Wars news and lore videos every single day, follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, and consider checking out my Patreon page. As always, thanks for watching, and may the Force be with you.